Shedeur Sanders wasn't just drafted to hold a clipboard. He was brought in to change the game, to eventually become the face of the franchise, to step in when the moment was right and show Cleveland what a real quarterback of the future looks like. But instead of rising, he's been buried on the depth chart, sidelined while the Browns suffer through the growing pains of a washed-up vet and a coaching staff that can't seem to get out of its own way. Let's be real, Sanders has the pedigree, the stats, the attitude. A 74% college completion rate, 37 touchdowns, just 10 picks, and the poise of someone born for big stages. He's confident, some might even say bold, but not without reason. The man said outright he believes he can outperform some current NFL starters. And after watching Joe Flacco hand-deliver another loss to the Lions with a performance straight out of a horror film, who's really going to argue?
If you're into the real story and all the messy twists they don't show on highlight reels, go ahead and subscribe. And if you're sticking around to see how this Browns QB chaos plays out, you should definitely be subscribed.
Flacco has racked up 6 interceptions and 8 total turnovers in just 4 games. That's not experience, that's exposure. And Stefanski? He's still backing him. Still acting like there's no better option. Still pretending like Shedeur Sanders doesn't exist. That kind of blind loyalty might earn respect in a locker room for a minute. But when it's costing you games, it becomes stubbornness. And it starts to bleed into incompetence. At this point, playing Sanders isn't a why. It's a why not. Even if the offensive line is beat up. Even if you're worried about throwing a rookie into the fire. That's how quarterbacks develop. You let them struggle. You let them learn. You give them a chance to show what they're made of under pressure. Because the reality is, there's no perfect moment. But there is a window. And the longer the Browns keep him on ice, the more that window starts to close. Some say give Dillon Gabriel a shot first, and sure, fine. But if he struggles, Sanders needs to be next. Period. Every snap that goes to Flacco is a snap wasted. Every game the Browns drop because of bad quarterback play chips away at locker room trust, fan support, and most importantly, the future. The team has talent. The defense is real. The pieces are there. But none of it matters without a spark, without a leader, without a quarterback who can grow into the role and take Cleveland somewhere it hasn't been in years, up. If Kevin Stefanski doesn't figure that out soon, it's not just Flacco that needs to be benched. It's the entire idea that this coaching staff knows what it's doing. Because Shedeur Sanders isn't just the future. He's the best shot they have at saving this season. Kevin Stefanski is now in a situation no coach wants to be in. His own decision is the biggest problem in the building. After a brutal 34-10 collapse against the Detroit Lions, a loss that looked worse than the score and played out like a live-action coaching malpractice case, the Cleveland Browns have officially hit their breaking point. And all roads lead back to one question. Why is Joe Flacco still starting? Because let's be real, this isn't just about a bad game. This is about 4 straight weeks of hard evidence that Flacco is no longer capable of running an NFL offense at a competitive level. He leads the league in interceptions over that stretch, with 6 picks and 8 total turnovers. His throws are late. His reads are off. He's a sitting target behind a banged-up offensive line, and every snap he takes looks like borrowed time. But Stefanski won't budge. Despite the turnovers, despite the stagnant offense, despite the locker room frustration and public outcry, he keeps trotting Flacco out there. And with every wasted drive, with every giveaway, the team's playoff hopes get smaller and the noise gets louder. It's not just fans demanding a change now, it's analysts, insiders, and yes, even players. The sentiment is turning fast, and Stefanski's decision to bench Shedeur Sanders, a quarterback with visible upside, confidence, and college production to back it up, is under a microscope like never before. Let's break this down clearly. Joe Flacco, at this stage of his career, is a short-term patch. That's it. He was brought in to stabilize a room rocked by injury. But instead of being a stopgap, he's become the hill Kevin Stefanski is dying on. And not quietly, loudly, visibly, nationally. In just 4 games, Flacco has thrown more interceptions than some quarterbacks have all season. And what's even more painful is that it's not just about the picks. It's about how little upside there is. There's no spark, no mobility, no development, no future. So again, why is Shedeur Sanders still inactive? This is a quarterback who, in college, posted a 74.1% completion rate, threw 37 touchdowns and just 10 interceptions. He led, he produced, and he carried himself like a pro even before being drafted. And he hasn't been given one chance. Not a snap. Not a series. Not even garbage time. And when Sanders says he believes he can outplay some current NFL starters, he's not wrong. We're literally watching one of those starters melt down in real time. And the Browns won't even test the alternative? It's beyond conservative. It's reckless. And if Stefanski truly believes Flacco still gives them the best chance to win, then the evaluation system in Cleveland is broken. This brings us to Dillon Gabriel. If the plan is to ease Sanders in, fine. But then where is Gabriel? If you're not playing the rookie with star potential, and you're not even using your other young developmental quarterback, what are we doing here? There is no plan. That's what's so frustrating. The quarterback depth chart looks more like a formality than a strategy. The front office invested in 2 young QBs, and the coaching staff refuses to use either, even while the season burns. And it is burning fast. The Browns have a talented roster. They have one of the best defenses in the league. They have playmakers, but they don't have competent quarterback play. And that void is dragging the whole team down. You can't survive in this league turning the ball over twice a game. You can't ask a defense to carry the team for 4 quarters every week. Eventually, they break. And the locker room? It's not built to survive this level of mismanagement indefinitely. Players talk. Players vent. And players notice when the coach keeps rolling with a guy who isn't producing while their peers sit and wait. Morale doesn't just dip. It shatters. Every player in that room knows Shedeur Sanders has talent. Every guy on that sideline has watched him in practice. They've seen the confidence. They've seen the arm. And now they're watching the coaching staff pretend like he doesn't exist. That's how you lose the team, one quiet decision at a time. And then there's the offensive line, an issue Stefanski leans on heavily to justify the quarterback paralysis. Yes, the line has been unstable. Yes, there have been injuries and retirements. But if that's the case, why are you starting the least mobile quarterback on the roster? Flacco can't move. He can't extend plays. Sanders can. Gabriel can. So, if the O-line is a liability, wouldn't it make sense to at least try someone who can mitigate the pressure? Nope. Not in Cleveland. Not under Stefanski. And that's the point where it stops being a quarterback issue and becomes a full-blown organizational failure. The reluctance to adapt is now putting the entire season at risk. What started as conservative decision-making has turned into pure stubbornness. The kind of stubbornness that gets head coaches fired. And the fans know it. They're fed up. They've seen this story before. A team with potential derailed by indecision and bad quarterback management. Except now, the stakes are higher because the Browns finally have young quarterbacks to build around, and they're doing nothing with them. They're not developing. They're not evaluating. They're not planning for the future. They're clinging to a quarterback whose last relevant season ended before TikTok even existed. And you can't sell that anymore. Every game Sanders or Gabriel doesn't play is a missed opportunity. Every week Flacco starts is a week the Browns get further from a real solution. And every time Kevin Stefanski defends it at the podium, his credibility slips just a little more. Eventually, ownership will step in. Because they have to. You don't pour resources into drafting and developing talent just to let it rot, while a broken offense drags your franchise backward. Stefanski's bet on Flacco has failed. Everyone sees it. The only question now is whether he'll admit it, or get replaced for refusing to. So what's next, Cleveland? Because the clock isn't just ticking. It's screaming. And if nothing changes, this won't just be another lost season. It'll be the season where the Browns had options, had talent, had a future, and chose to ignore all of it. Let us know what you think. Should Shedeur Sanders finally get his chance, or does Dillon Gabriel deserve the first shot? Is Kevin Stefanski out of excuses or out of time? Drop your takes in the comments and hit subscribe for more straight-shooting breakdowns of the NFL's biggest coaching flops, quarterback disasters, and front office failures. Because as long as Cleveland keeps doubling down on bad decisions, we'll be right here calling them out. Right now, the Cleveland Browns are knee-deep in denial. They've seen the turnovers. They've watched the offense sputter. They've heard the boos, the criticism, the analysis. They've seen the defense gas out trying to carry the team every single week. They know Joe Flacco isn't just underperforming. He's actively sinking the season. But despite every sign flashing, make a change, Kevin Stefanski is still gripping the wheel like a man who thinks the cliff ahead is a mirage. Spoiler, it's not. Let's just lay it out. Flacco has thrown 6 interceptions in 4 games. He's committed 8 total turnovers. The Browns have lost ground in the AFC playoff picture every single week. Their defense, one of the league's best units, is being squandered. And still no change. The quarterback room? Untouched. Shedeur Sanders? Inactive. Dylan Gabriel? Invisible. This isn't about patience. It's not about protecting young talent. It's about fear. Kevin Stefanski is afraid to take the risk. He's afraid to bench the veteran. He's afraid to hand the reins to someone who wasn't on the initial blueprint. And that fear? It's becoming the defining trait of this regime. Because every game that Flacco starts, every turnover, every pick, every 3 and out, only sharpens the question. What exactly is Stefanski waiting for? The idea that Shedeur Sanders isn't ready doesn't hold up anymore. Not when he's coming off a college career where he posted elite-level numbers, a 74.1% completion rate, 37 touchdowns, just 10 picks. Not when he's been vocal about his ability to outperform current NFL starters. Not when Flacco, an actual NFL starter, is currently leading the league in giveaways. There's nothing left to protect Sanders from, except wasted time. And that's the thing about time in the NFL. You don't get a lot of it. You don't get years to develop behind the scenes anymore. You don't get multiple seasons of clipboard growth. Today's league is about reps, game speed, real-time development. You throw your guy in, you let him struggle, you let him figure it out. That's how Josh Allen got better. That's how C.J. Stroud took off. That's how good teams turn young quarterbacks into stars. But in Cleveland, they're letting their most promising rookie QB rot. Not even dressing him. Not even giving him garbage time in a 24-point blowout loss. You want to talk about development? This isn't it. And if the argument is, well, Dylan Gabriel is ahead of him on the depth chart. Great. Where's Gabriel? Why hasn't he taken a single snap either? The phased approach, which everyone from fans to media to former players have been calling for, makes perfect sense. Gabriel gets the start. He runs the offense. You evaluate. If he stalls or struggles, you move to Sanders. That's how responsible organizations use the back half of a season to set up the future. But Cleveland isn't interested in responsibility right now. They're stuck in nostalgia, in deference to experience, in a flawed belief that somehow, someway, Joe Flacco is going to figure it out, despite all the data, tape, and common sense that says otherwise. And meanwhile, the locker room suffers. Let's talk about that. Because this kind of decision, this stubbornness, has real consequences. You think the defense isn't watching? You think Myles Garrett is thrilled about busting through offensive lines for 60 minutes just to have the ball handed back to the other team 2 plays later? You think wide receivers like Amari Cooper aren't questioning the point of their routes when the quarterback can't reach them? You think young offensive linemen are excited to block for a quarterback who refuses to move? Morale matters. And when the coaching staff sends the message that production doesn't matter, that there's no accountability for bad football, you lose the trust of the locker room. Not all at once, but slowly, quietly, permanently. And when that happens, it's over. Because the Browns have been through too many versions of this. Too many quarterback flops. Too many trust the process speeches. Too many years of convincing themselves that this version of the team will be different, only to watch the same slow-motion disaster unfold. What's happening right now? This isn't new. It's just wearing a different jersey. And the shame of it all? It doesn't have to be this way. The Browns have options. They have two young quarterbacks who were drafted for a reason. Sanders and Gabriel represent the future, the potential, the upside, the direction this franchise should be heading toward. But Stefanski won't even tap the brakes. He's watching the season spiral. He's watching the turnovers pile up. He's watching the playoff picture fade. And he's doing nothing. That's not loyalty. That's negligence. You want to know how teams lose entire decades? This is how. By sticking with the wrong guy 1 week too long. Then another. Then another. And before you know it, your young quarterbacks are gone. Your veterans are demanding trades. And your fans are tuning out. The most ironic part? Starting Sanders isn't even a desperate move. It's not a Hail Mary. It's a logical step. Flacco has proven, beyond all reasonable doubt, that he's not the answer. Gabriel is untested. Sanders has upside. You evaluate. You adapt. You move forward. You do anything other than watch the season crumble under the weight of your own pride. Because if this continues, and Sanders still doesn't get a shot, you've wasted the one thing you can't buy back in the NFL, opportunity. You've taken a year of elite defense and lit it on fire. You've told every young player on your roster that performance means less than politics. And you've handed the rest of the AFC a gift-wrapped reason not to take you seriously ever again. This is a fork-in-the-road moment. And Kevin Stefanski is choosing the wrong direction with full awareness. There's still time to correct it. But not much. Start Gabriel. See what he's got. If he can't elevate the offense, give Sanders the ball. Let the kid play. Let the team fight. Let the season breathe again. Because right now, this team is drowning. And Stefanski's still pointing at Flacco saying, he's our guy. No, he's not. Not anymore. Not when the future is standing on the sideline with his helmet on and no plan in sight. You've got the receipts. You've got the turnovers. You've got the blown leads, the missed throws, the locker room tension, the media pressure, the fan outrage. You've got everything short of a fire alarm going off on the sideline. And still, Kevin Stefanski refuses to budge. Joe Flacco is not the guy. That's not a controversial take anymore. That's an objective truth. 6 interceptions. 8 turnovers. 4 straight games of offensive stagnation. Flacco is leading the league in self-sabotage, and the Browns are letting him do it unchecked. This isn't about one bad performance. This is about a month of mounting evidence that continuing to start Flacco is an organizational failure from the top down. And as bad as that is, here's what makes it worse. There are solutions. There's not just one young quarterback waiting in the wings. There are 2. Dillon Gabriel and Shedeur Sanders. 2 prospects, 2 different styles, and 2 potential futures, both sitting there untouched, while Flacco continues to sink the season in broad daylight. You want to talk about risk? Let's talk about what's really risky. Risk is not playing Gabriel. Risk is not letting Shedeur Sanders even suit up. Risk is letting a 38-year-old quarterback whose best football is behind him take valuable snaps away from guys who could actually be a part of this franchise's future. That's not caution, that's cowardice. And this isn't just a Stefanski problem anymore. This is a front office failure, too. Andrew Berry, where are you? You drafted Shedeur Sanders. You brought in Dillon Gabriel. You watched the preseason reps. You saw the film. You know exactly what you have, or at least what you could have. So why is your coaching staff still rolling with a quarterback who turns the ball over more than he scores? It's not about throwing a rookie to the wolves. It's about developing your talent. It's about finding out what you have before you waste another season pretending Joe Flacco is anything other than a placeholder from a decade ago. You want to keep Shedeur inactive? Fine, for a minute. But you better start Gabriel now. Because every week you don't evaluate these young quarterbacks is a week lost. A week you can't get back. A week you push your timeline further into the abyss. This is the kind of slow-motion failure that defines front offices. That lingers. That sticks to your reputation. Teams that mismanage quarterback development don't just fall behind. They stay behind. And the Browns? They're on the verge of wasting a golden opportunity. Let's not forget, this roster is ready. This defense is elite. The receiving core is competent. You've got pieces. You've got a playoff-capable structure, everything but the quarterback. And you're letting that one weakness drag the entire thing down while refusing to even test the fix. That's coaching arrogance at its peak. That's franchise negligence. And what's the cost? Let's run through it. You lose the season. You lose the locker room. You lose fan engagement. You lose the momentum your defense worked so hard to build. And worst of all, you risk losing the development curve of a quarterback you drafted to be the future. Shedeur Sanders isn't some long-shot project. He's not a flyer. He's a quarterback with high-level tools, elite college production, and the kind of self-confidence that actually translates in today's NFL. He believes he can start. And based on what we've seen from Flacco, he has a strong case. But instead of embracing that confidence, instead of building around it, the Browns are pretending it's too soon, like it's some kind of liability. Let me ask you this. When has waiting ever worked for this team? How many times have the Browns played it safe with a veteran quarterback only to watch the season slip away before the rookie ever got a shot? This isn't 2005. You don't need to sit a quarterback for 2 seasons before he's ready. The league is filled with young QBs making an impact right now. Houston handed the ball to C.J. Stroud, and look at them. Indy rolled the dice on Anthony Richardson. Bryce Young is learning on the fly. These teams are building. Cleveland? Still stuck trying to relive Flacco's Ravens tape from 2012. You either evolve or you fall behind. Right now, the Browns are falling, and fast. If Kevin Stefanski doesn't make the switch soon, it won't just be the quarterbacks in trouble. It'll be the entire coaching staff. Because you can't keep ignoring this many signs. You can't let the ship sink while pretending the leaks are part of the process. You make the change. You have to. Start Gabriel. Activate Sanders. See what your future looks like before the present completely falls apart. Because every game with Flacco isn't just a missed opportunity. It's a waste of time, talent, and trust. So what's your move, Browns fans? Is it finally time to start the youth movement, or do you think Stefanski has already waited too long? Drop your thoughts in the comments, and make sure you're subscribed for more raw, unfiltered takes on the NFL's most unbelievable coaching decisions, roster failures, and quarterback controversies. Because in Cleveland, the drama never rests, and neither do we.